Sorry, Miss Angela, or some of it. Answer. When she came back from walking the dogs, he would not look at her. Fast in his place on the couch, he said whatever he said without urgency. She was like any other distraction. The set of his jaw, his lips, reminded her of a prisoner, of something trapped, or of the very old, anyone consigned to waiting and who has chosen to obey. Meanwhile, between them, a hole had been dug, immense, all their words thrown in there, irretrievable, or mangled, torn from their real meanings or intent, just given over to, why should it matter now? And as for her, replaced by the plain language of dogs, who in a few syllables have everything to say. When she spoke, he closed his eyes. So she tried to disappear, obliged by his own disappearing, becoming who she wasn't. Not there was not who she was, and not how she was. She could tiptoe out. She could be relieved or surprised coming searching, but how would that work when he needed her to be there in order to make her gone, disappeared into other? What other, she thought, wondering how to make herself into someone absent so that she could be the one he would welcome, wide-eyed, wanting to hear whatever it was she had to say. Chipmunk in the pool. Chippy fallen in, little head bobbing, and from the second floor, dark in their conversation, she runs to rescue. No handy net to lift it out, no chipmunk-sized anything, so she throws her shirt, a raft of sorts to scamper on. Too heavy, too close. How could she not know this? Her usual way of jumping in before thinking, and it flips, goes under. The broom, she's calling now to the silent house. Bring me the broom. The creature fights itself up, and she leans to grab the baby belly and soaked heft, pluck it out into the air where it gasps a little, chokes out water from a gaping mouth. She massages with one finger where the lungs might be. More droplets gurgle up, mouth to mouth is needed along with pumping. But she can't, not without some small opening to blow through, safe distance from her own mouth, which has released a little drool, working in sympathy, as if she can convince this thing to be saved. How hard can it be in the tame backyard pool? And why can't he come out of the house with some other idea? That tumbler of straws playing on the kitchen counter. Why, for God's sake, won't he come out and help? Canis. It was a small comment, wasn't it, about who they were that last year on the dunes when all the town talk was of coyotes, prairie wolf in search of an ocean, those footprints instead of rabbits surrounding the shack, or half sunk in the cranberry bog just off the path. They heard the howling somewhere behind their backs as they walked out past midnight, singing at the top of their lungs, "Abandon me, O careless love," although they knew, the coyotes knew exactly where they were. No surprise to either of them when they wailed unusually close and loud on a moonless night after an argument, this time a mean one about the dogs. For God's sake, the dogs, how much trouble they were to him, their feeding and whining and constant need to go out, no matter how wet or cold, and so on, till silence set itself between them, holding stiff as each turned away to bed. But the coyotes just outside started up their merciless lament as if the entire genus called them had bound the tribe together in protest for their brothers. Hours they heard the keening, both of them sleepless, that rising, falling complaint in their ears. Until he couldn't bear it, he said, "I'm sorry, I can't do this anymore." And she, in a rush of understanding the exact suffering fit of it, jumped up and closed the offending one window's half-inch crack. And just like that, in the dead center of a moan, the coyotes stopped their noise. What I mean to say is, the wind stopped making that heartbroken sound. This middle section is called Book of Dog, and they are entitled. There are 13 of them. I'm going to read a few. In the Book of Dog, a few syllables contain the world, and you own them. You dole out car, home, sit, stay, for the sweet yelp, the whine. But at cookie, the wet mouth seizes, the low growl transforming, "Give it to me," into, "Oh, how I love you." The pure love we assign when the dog gets what it wants. And when it doesn't, that famously humble and contrived looking the other way, studying the air, the moat in the air, the not wanting for anything, not saying, "Oh, you dear one with the meat, the bone, the biscuit, come back, give it to me." The other one's roaming closer, a shy dog after this morning's rudeness, belly to the floor, head bent, she's crawling to your chair, remembering not to bark. Does my breath still stink? Can I sleep in your bed? What if I promise not to wake you, rolling over, scratching an itch? Thump goes the tail on the wood floor. Bless her everlasting guilt. Bless her eye on you. I wasn't going to read this one, but I am. There were two dogs in the book, and we lost the bigger one, who was one of those once-in-a-lifetime angel dogs, Samoyed Husky, part wolf, hybrid wolf, incredible dog. And this is number 11 in this section. In the animal crematorium, you wait and wait. He is a big dog, and the business of burning is long, and his long dying day means the night is long, because the life he lived is long, and there is nothing to do but pick and pick at the long white hair covering your coat, adding it to the fistful you cut before they took him. A bouquet of hair you cling to, along with the blanket deep with his smell, and the worn collar, too, the tags that list his name with yours biting into your palm. The room is small, an afterthought to harbor the waiting, the tea things, the photos of other beloved lining the walls. Airtight, nothing to interrupt, the fire boiling on the other side of the concrete holding wall, devouring the material, a maelstrom of spit and belly and bone that will forever keep away unthinkable rot. And now they come finally with the grit and stone, the essence, I call it, this residue poured in a box, with white roses to adorn the box, for the taking away of something so very light. None of the heft we arranged on the table, so much like a dog asleep on his side. How can this be? White dog, white box, and the crossing in flames. You are deaf with the roar. You, a burned boat, bearing a stone box, bearing ashes still hot in your hands, and you carry it with you, unbroken seal. Song of If Only. If only the bird had been alive, not something dead delivered onto sand. And not this packed, cold sand where nothing moves even slightly, no blowholes, no scurrying things. And if only the shorebirds, seaweed nests, that little piping hadn't been smothered by a freak spring tide. Now the plovers must begin again, eggs and hatching, the mothers fake writhing when they see me, squawking and dragging their wings to save their chicks. Oh, save me from the whole painstaking work of early June, the blowing 50 degrees, no sandbed of heat in some dune bowl's hollow, no love, and on this outer beach, euphoria, just the name of the shack I want in the driving rain. And if only it would stop, shut itself up for good, this off-key if only that goes on singing like some deranged child repeating. Dune shack. To live in this place, you have to kill things. At first, you think you'll wait. You're innocent, the one no one can blame. All those fixed notions of what you could count on, the old life made it possible to look the other way. But out here, you have to deal with the obvious, the maimed, the hopeless. They're all around. They're waiting. Otherwise, would your eye twitch, your right hand shake? By the third day, you've scoured the place. But hunger being what it is, the mother mouse moves right in, deposits her half-inch offspring into some cotton you left unguarded. And hearing her scratch through the night is made worse only by her disappearance. Who knows what marsh hawk got her, or some other closer beast foraging around the stilted shack. So since you're who's left, who's responsible, number one, get the little things out of hiding. Number two, just get it over with. Alone. The spider's long legs, more than mother, the glistening three-tiered web. Tearing it only brings her back, resolved again and patient. But oh, this deliberate dismantling, this person waving a hand through it, shoving the broken threads to the side, brushing strands away from my face, cursing how something still sticks and clings so I can't be done with it. As if it were a plot, not a home built with her very self. And this hunger, this need to take in all she can harvest inside her, no end to her want. No, how she keeps alive is not luminous, but strict and necessary, this moving sideways into the dark. There is in our global warming situation something called the Western conifer seed bug that has moved from California to the East Coast. And I beg you not to kill it in the wintertime when you find it in your house. It comes in old houses. It's about this big. It's really ugly. It's in a semi-dormant state. It won't hurt you. It doesn't eat your food. It doesn't mate. It doesn't poop. It doesn't do anything except just wait until the weather changes. It'll move maybe a little, but basically it just kind of hangs out on the bathroom wall or in your bedroom. And then in the spring it goes outside, and it's a very beneficial bug to the conifers. It helps them open their seed pods. So it's a good bug, a homely bug, but a very good bug, and won't hurt you. So this is my Western conifer seed bug. He'd become a house guest, non-committal and impassive. She tried to see to it he wasn't disturbed, nothing to trip him up, A book, perhaps laid down in some rash motion, might scare him off an edge. Although he had a talent, it seemed, for focusing on himself. He'd been so carefully attended, she thought, warning her guests to watch for him on the coverlet, not overreact to his homely presence. She kept close guard, as was her nature, a kind of partner to help him make it through the winter. She'd done the research when he showed up. She knew all his business. She had a duty. With these advantages, how had he taken it upon himself to die? But there he was, in that trite pose, feet in the air, as if arranged on the sink top for her to find him. She brushed her teeth, considering all the pine trees surrounding the house, their heavy scent calling the half-sleeping one at the rightful time. We were almost there. He would have been free, piercing and sucking the sap deep in the cones. And this is the last poem I'll read, and I want to thank you so much for being patient and having me here. Survival, a guide. It's not easy living here, waiting to be charmed by the first little scribble of green. Even in May, crows want to own the place, and the heron, old bent thing, spends hours looking like graying bark, part of a dead trunk lying over opaque water. She strikes the pose so long, I begin to think she's determined to make herself into something ordinary. The small lakes continue their slide into bog and muck. Remember when they ran clear, an invisible spring renewing the water? But the ducks stay longer, amusing ruffle and chatter. I can be distracted. If I do catch her move, the heron appears to have no particular fear or hunger, her gaunt body hinged haphazardly, a few gears unlocking one wing, then another. More than a generation here, and every year more drab. Once I called her blue heron, as in great blue, true to a book, part myth, part childhood's color. Older now, I see her playing, a mere surviving against a weedy bank with fox dens and the ruthless overhead patrol. Some blind clockwork keeps her going.